Hi everybody, my name is Eric Von Elm, and today I'm going to start off by doing my CSIS, or no, excuse me, NET 3705 final report, which I've kind of titled Behind the Games. First, I'm going to look at protocols and everything that comes through somebody's router if they play a certain amount of AAA games. The ones I'm going to be looking at are the ones as follows. First one I'm going to be looking at from product from Ubisoft Montreal called For Honor. I should put a picture up either right here or somewhere right here, just so you can know how it looks like. And I will boot up the game, see how that looks, and then I will show my protocols, how it communicates to my client side. Then I will move on to Overwatch or Smite. Because Overwatch is a pretty famous product of Blizzard, and Smite is also a product of Hi-Rez Studios. These are both MMO or massively multiplayer games, which meaning they can either be connected through peer-to-peer networking or sent through a secure line to one of the company's database servers, wherever they have it stationed, either national-wide, worldwide, or wherever they have it at. So, like I said, we're going to go ahead and get started with For Honor. Hi everybody. So first we're going to start off with For Honor, which is going to be this icon right here. I'm going to go ahead and boot it up. This is, since I'm watching it through a third-party client side, it's going to actually send the client side to my information to the client server first, which in turn is going to send the client to the Ubisoft servers during this whole thing while it's slowly starting to boot up. But like I said before, that while this boots up, my client side here is trying to contact or set up a connection with the Ubisoft Montreal servers that they have established in Oregon and Virginia. But since my PC deemed out of connection is actually deemed the Virginia aspect, is which I will show later during my Wireshark packets, and just how quickly is able to set up connection. So before, I'm just going to let the intro sequence play out, and this is while, and during this time, it's establishing connection data, it's establishing me sending my credentials through Ubisoft, saying this is who I am, and this is just slowly starting to lock me in the background while the intro sequence is playing. But I'll go ahead and let this play.
After so many signs, all believed the end of times was nigh. Or so they thought. The earth quietened without warning, and a new dawn came. Hope filled the warriors' minds. For the first time in ages. They remembered the many heroes who had fallen, who once fought for peace. For a brief moment, the leaders of Heathmoor ceased their quarrel. It was called the Truce of Wyverndale.
Okay, now with that out of the way, as you see right here, it should be slowly finishing sending my data to the login server. So as soon as I press any key, the login server is going to start to send my data to the game server, which in turn is going to loop it back to me, logging into as me with my set skill, with my set algorithm. So when I go into a multiplayer game, I'm matched with certain people closer to my skill set, or yeah, it's closer to my skill set, closer to, I guess, my experience in the game, and everything like that. So, unfortunately not this time. I won't show how the gameplay looks like. I will do that in a later time. But just, this is pretty much just how the game looks like, and yeah. So I'm gonna go stop this and move on to the Wireshark side of this. Hi everybody, so like I said before, we're gonna jump into the Wireshark side of things, and like I explained before, with the kind of round robin operation with my client sending information to the login server, Then for the login server, it's able to communicate to Ubisoft's game server or For Honor game server, in which in turn that sends it back to the login server, which in turn sends it back to me, and that's able to load the application data and just keep everything safe, slowly moving. So we're going to go ahead and start off on frame 139 right here, which I have highlighted. That so far that's coming out of my IP address, this 192.168.1.234. It's going to Ubisoft's data center staged in Virginia, which I will show you here in a little bit. And it's moving through TLS version 1.2. So this is Transport Layer Security version 1.2. What this does, it's able to encrypt most of the data. So it just looks like a bunch of gibberish. But you know this is going to a Ubisoft server because it says public.ubuser.pisces.ub.com. So it's able to know in the same time it's encrypted, but it's sending a public service key. My device is sending a public use service key to back to the Ubisoft server. And if we come down to here, it's going down to the same thing. Right here where it shows just all the data for the organizational value data. This is them establishing a connection right here. And it shows right here for the Ubisoft Montreal. It's showing this is like just where they're based out of. And this is just showing the Ubisoft protocols, or excuse me, the server data and just what is getting sent back to my client and through the login server to help me establish data connection. Then it moves on to this gibberish data, which is more my secured account information. So it keeps it more secured and more everything such as that. You see also going through more validation. And by this time, you can see about right here, it's still going to Ubisoft.com. This is still the login server trying to validate who I am and just trying to establish connection with the game server in the process. So in the meantime, we're going to jump down to here to the certificate user exchange. So this is so after the login server has established its connection with me, like I said up above here, and also authenticating me, just make sure who I am, and that's them able to certificate server key exchange, and it's also saying the server hello down, so which meaning I've successfully established a connection with the login server. By this time, it's going to the client key exchange, which helps me establish connection with the game servers, which in turn the game server sends back the new session ticket, which in turn is the encrypted handshake, which is them essentially starting up the game, loading into the game, like you saw like on the right after the intro sequence, where you saw the little logo down here in the corner, and that's them loading it to like this. Then the game's fully loaded up. It turns into encrypted application data. And by this, it's still under the protection of the TLS 1.2. That's just because For Honor used to be a peer-to-peer network problem, and so a lot of people were able to access the code fairly easily because it was unprotected, and you could see almost everybody's log information, personal information they link to their accounts, and just all bad information that you don't want any attackers getting a hold of. And this just shows more. And this just shows more of me sending back to the application data on this frame I've highlighted right here. So with that done, like I mentioned before, I'm going to show where Ubisoft's data servers are located. So if we take this 3.221.245.228, and I compare that to right here, see if you can see that. I'll zoom in here a little bit. So a while back, while I mentioned where For Honor used to be a peer-to-peer network game, they actually launched dedicated servers in Oregon and Virginia, USA. And since it's a big game, they set up a lot of servers across the world. And this is in North America, we have in Oregon and in Virginia. So like I mentioned before, how am I to know which server I'm actually being established to? So that's where we come over to here. And now let me zoom in again. I typed in that same IP address. that we saw right here. And it says, even though it does say Amazon, because Amazon does have a wide server out there, so what it's thinking is I'm trying to look up the Amazon server, but in turn I'm actually not. So, but in turn, it's not all the way exact, because it never will be, because it's kind of illegal if I do. In turn, it gives me a general location of just where it's at. And like I said, I mentioned before, we go to Virginia. We come back to Virginia. So this just shows that my computer or client side giving a established data connection, or through TLS, making it secured for the login to the game server, and thus even more secured game server through login server again back to me through the application data, which shows me actually loading into the game and actually playing the game. Okay, so that's all I have for the For Honor side of it, and I'm going to move on to the next games, and we're going to jump into that. Hi everybody, it's me, Eric again. So like I said before, we're going to jump into going to Smite now. But Smite's kind of around the same thing as where For Honor is, where you send data to a login server, then to a game server, just so you're able to match with essentially around the same people that have your same skill set and are able to do something sort of along those lines. But since Smite was actually made by Hi-Res Studios, I'll throw a picture up somewhere right here. That where Hi-Res, believe it or not, does actually not have the amount of funding that Ubisoft has. So that Hi-Res has to route their client through another third party through Steam, which is in turn is run by Valve, who also in turn share their data servers, believe it or not, with Amazon. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead, click right here on Smite. We're going to go ahead and hit play. Meantime, like I said before, how it boots up for the easy anti-cheat and then everything before. I'm going to go ahead and just let the intro sequence play out so it shows how it looks like. And then we're going to dive into the Wireshark side of this. And I'll show you where the data servers are, what protocols are moving through it, everything along those sorts. So in the meantime, I'm going to let the Smite startup run its way. So like I said before, in the meantime, this is me establishing connection with Hi-Res's login studio. And then in turn, this is them sending the algorithm over to their data server. And then the whole time logging back me during the whole boot up process of the game. So yeah, this is the official creator and current maintenancee of Smite, Hi-Res Studios. And this is a publisher. Okay, so this is pretty much how Smite looks like, and also during this game, you'll see on certain games like this, instance for example, if I click like this, it's because what Smite does, it times certain server linkings to each other. This is what the game is. So on both your server times that they're timed together, so see if I wanted to join Arena like I am now, about 42 seconds that it's all everyone on their client side is going to send a encrypted application data to their game server, which is all going to end up linking people together based off of their skill and their algorithm. You can see my name up here, how like say my level is 127, and you say if I go into my gods over here, you see I have pretty high risk gods, or pretty much I've been around this game for a while, so like I said with For Honor, it can be pretty experienced. So I'll go ahead, let this play out, and I'll show you what it looks like joining a arena match. And so this is us sending the encrypted data right here, and it's giving a 20-second timeout time for all of us to pretty much hit the accept. So I hit accept, and it's sending the encrypted handshake of saying, yes, I want to play this game. Then about right now is when it says to acknowledge, where it starts the application data. Here we are, a brand new game in the character select. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this game, but you don't have to see it. And I'll go ahead and after that, and we'll jump into the Wireshark side of this. Alrighty, so we are going to jump into the Wireshark side of things on Smite. That comes from High Risk Studios. So like I said before, things are able to route through TLS version 1.2. But the thing being is how, like I showed before, how Steam is able to, in a sense, host as a third party and send my data to their client server. And I'm able to establish a client server with the, my client connection with the login server, which in turn says the server's hello done. And this is them exchanging with the game server, like I said before in the For Honor instance. And it's also changed to the encrypted handshake, which in turn sends back to my data, or through the application data. This is what this is, Steam activating the game for me. And then this is all the game starting to boot up right here. And then this is just the game starting running. If I scroll down just a little bit more here, you can see that this is more part of the secured game. And like I said in the video, and before in the video, how Smite uses certain timed application data. And this is able to kind of keep track of the application. This is me establishing, say for a new game, on the new connection still to the game server. And it's able to establish a connection to, and this is me saying, trying to connect to it, where I click on the arena button first. This is what this is saying, and this is me hitting accept. And this is me establishing connection, and then this is eventually us bringing us into the character select like you saw before, where I cut the video out, which starts just about right here. And it scrolls down and it starts transmitting the application data through here, and starts transmitting it through here. Okay, so that's all I have for Smite, and next time we're going to jump into a new game that I'd say kind of runs out of your browser, called Town of Salem, but it's a bit more interesting because it uses pure HTTPS instead of the TCP client side. So we're going to look into that next. Hi everybody, it's Eric again, and like I said before, we're going to jump into the last and final game we're going to look at is the Town of Salem. And I thought that was interesting because you can tell how it purely plays just out of your browser. And just brief intro of what this game is about, if you're familiar with the campfire side game known as Mafia, or I'm sure they have any names for it, where you have 7 to 15 people. We have some people who are bad, some people are kind of in the middle, and some people who are good. And they all have a very specific role and what they're supposed to do, but nobody knows who's who. And they all have to try and figure it out, who's the good, who's in the middle, and who's the bad, and all depending on what individual roles you get. So, I am on the homepage of Town of Salem, or blankmediagames.com. That's the current developer or me of the game. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the login, show what that looks like. Then we're going to jump to the Wireshark side. And from there, we're going to go and jump to the Funny Get game and see what that looks like on the Wireshark side as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit play now. And obviously this is going to be run off of Flash. For now, you can see just my login right here. So during this time, it is going to turn into HTTPS authentication or Wireshark HTTP over TLS authentication. Okay, so during that time, it's just a quick login info just like that. So, and again, this is my name home screen, but I'm going to go ahead and just mute this, and we'll jump to the Wireshark. So right here where I have this packet 3 of this highlighted, you can see the application data from me sending the login, secured information, back to me from their outsourced server. See if I can move this over just a little bit. You see the TLS, and it comes down to here, and it's TLS record layer application data protocol, HTTP over TLS. Like I said before, because it's secured with the HTTPS server, because people are trying to log in, and it's a secured account with currency and everything. And you don't want people getting into that. So then we come back down here and it sends a reply. Then I reply with a TCP protocol that me logging into said game. We come down here. We look at it and said, even though this is the first TCP stream, but this is me pretty much logging in into the interface of the outsourced of Town of Salem login server. So I'm going to go ahead and find a game real quick, and we'll jump to that and see how that looks. Alrighty, so again, we're back in the login screen. I've unmuted it, kind of give it a little ambience, just kind of show what the game is like. But you can see my profile right over here. I'm going to go ahead, hit play, and just tour my normal game. And again, you can create a party, which in turn is kind of a peer-to-peer connection. So one person is the host, and you're all able to join the game just at once. But I'm going to go ahead and hit play solo. And then during this time, it's logging me into Town of Salem's game server, which is all the other people just logged in at the moment, because it doesn't run off a skill algorithm like other people used to, or the other games used to. So pretty much this is how it like. I'm already connected to the game. You can hear the game is just starting, but I'm gonna go ahead and just exit out of this because we're not gonna play the game. And we're gonna go look at the Wireshark. Okay, so here we see just as I went through and connected to said game, I actually sent out a TCP request to my default gateway. Here I could pull that up here. You see my IP is right here. So this is me sending out to my default gateway. Then this is my, in turn, running to my default gateway back from blankmediagames.com. I closed it, before I mentioned, is the current maintainee of the Town of Salem game, which in turn is connecting me to their server. So we come down to here. We start just the normal TCP protocol of me getting connected to the game. But you see me sending out a client hello packet. Just more TCP. A TCP application data, which is me connecting to the game using pretty much just my login information. Because again, Town of Salem isn't a skill-based game. It's more of just server talking to people, so they don't have a ginormous skill algorithm like either Smite or For Honor did. So then server returns the server hello relatively quickly, and then my client and their server exchange the key, and then vice versa down here. Then you can tell this is where I'm able to get, or essentially join into the game under the TLS version 1.2, because you can still see how during that whole time when I was running the game, you still see it was still under secure of the HTTPS, or if how Wireshark likes to call it, the TLS under HTTP. And you see the new session ticket, the application data. Again, a lot of application data. And eventually down here, the game eventually starts running. This is all the segments of the application data. So during that time, the whole game, it's able to route other people to the same server, which is this IP here, that I will show here in just a little bit. And then, then everybody's able to kind of branch into a star formation, or just wherever everybody is connected from. Like I said before, I'm going to go ahead and show you what that looks like. So before, if you noticed how one of the requests was actually for cloudflare.com, and seeing how you can imagine Town of Salem kind of runs their game out of a browser. They don't essentially have the very big footing, or they don't have a client-side download base, like see how Smite would have independent client side. For example, see like for Overwatch, for example, or for example, see is Origin, such as this. So you have to outsource their server connections. So, and if you come out here, just out of curiosity, type in cloudflare.com, and this is Internet's Rest of Purpose, is able to cause through the crisis. And then which is a third-party access point for businesses to route certain things through. So, but like I said before, Cloudflare, it's able to mostly, like I said, corporate static IP, so it means it's most likely going to be a server, and it shows that they're mostly just based out of Kansas right here. So that's all I got for Town of Salem. I showed pretty much just what the login data looks like, and plus on the Wireshark side, how the game looks like, how connecting to a game looks like on the the Wireshark side. And then I was able to do this with a couple other games before. And so game servers, what I found out is the completely rely on a TLS version 1.2 connection, is able to essentially what I like to call the round robin, depending on with the login server to the game server, then back to the client again. And then it keeps the ongoing TCP connection through with the application data to the game server once the person is connected throughout the time of the game, and also how the gaming design is, loading to the game. How I said before on how Smite uses certain time-based data for the games, or how Ubisoft matches with their For Honor, how matches with their skill-based algorithm. But anyways, that's all I have for that, and I'm going to pretty much include all this data into my paper. And yeah, that's all I have for my final project video.